All right, so I know a lot of you guys are bringing this up, man, and for obvious reasons. So accessibility is aiming to do interesting things to games that are just too hard, right? They're just too hard. They're too hard, too difficult. Here's the most amazing thing about all of this, right? So whenever they bring up conversations about accessibility, they're always saying, well, think about the marginalized people. Think about the deaf people. Think about the blind people. What about the people with no hands? Think about the people who can't only see, who can only see with one eye. Think about the older people who don't have reaction time. Think about them. Think about all these marginalized people. They do this because the people who really want this stuff are the people who can't actually complete it, right? So the journalists that are so desperate for boss skipping options, difficulty sliders in Souls games, they'll use everybody else to get what they want, right? They'll use everybody else to get what they want. And then they'll gaslight you and say, no, it's not about me. It's about the marginalized folk. Think about all the black people who don't know how to play video games because they don't have the same opportunities as white people. Or some stupid shit like that. They'll say some dumb shit like that. So now, apparently, Liza P is now going to be getting difficulty options to make the Souls-like game more accessible, because clearly it wasn't that accessible before, right? Now, I've said many times, and I will say it again, Liza P is by far one of my favorite Souls-like video games. By far. I think it is extremely well done. I think it is extremely fun. I think the combat is amazing. The bosses are fun. But it is not an overly difficult game in the slightest, to be honest with you. There was very few bosses that I actually struggled with in Liza P. Very, very few. The final boss could be a little bit of a motherfucker, depending on if you fight him or not. But aside from that, never really had a major issue. Not as much as AI limit. I'm dying in AI limit like crazy, but I think that's partially due to the game's mechanics and the way the game works. So the game is going to offer 3 levels of difficulty for the base game and also the expansion. So it's gonna be retroactive. It's gonna affect the base game that's already been out, and it's gonna affect the expansion that is coming out. Liza P Overture will introduce difficulty options to try to increase the number of players who can enjoy the game. This is probably because the game, for the most part, didn't really do exceptionally well on Steam. It did okay. It didn't do exceptionally well, at least not in the beginning anyway. The game has definitely crawled to a few million in sales on PC, which is good. The lowest recorded price for this game was $35.99. So they're making decent money per sale. So the game definitely, I feel like anyway, has made its money back. But maybe they're just not happy with the amount of players that are playing the game, and now they're resorting to making it easier in order to try to convince people to play the game. I really don't know, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. This is going to become the norm. This is going to become the norm. It's only a matter of time. You're going to have people try to gaslight you and tell you, oh, it's not a big deal. What do you care? You're not playing their game. They're buying the game and playing the game. You're right. Sure. No problem. Have fun. Have at it. Convince yourself that you totally played this game. That's really what it's about. But at the end of the day, we all know what it's truly about. And it's about offering people whose jobs are related to playing this game, who really suck at playing these games, who can't review these games honestly and properly because they can't get past chapter 1. They need difficulty sliders in order to do their job. That's really what it is. The inherent point of games like From Software's Souls-like games are to give you that sense of accomplishment when you overcome adversity that seems impossible, right? They like the Souls-like games have gameplay that sometimes when you're just looking at it, you're like, dude, whoever designed this is fucked up in the head, right? But then when you finally overcome it, you grip your controller because you know you're about to throw that shit. You're like, fuck yeah, and then you're about to throw the fucking controller. You're never going to get that sense of accomplishment if everything is steamrolled in that game. And it kind of defeats the entire purpose of what a Souls-like game is. At that point, you really shouldn't be calling it a Souls-like game. Souls-like games are this way for a reason. That's why people love them. That's why it's such a huge subgenre of another franchise's video game. Journals don't even buy games. I know they don't because they get it given to them for free, which is hilarious, but whatever anyway. So, again, even the article acknowledges that difficulty options in Souls-likes are rare, with From Software's games featuring no such options. I got to tell you, if difficulty sliders become a thing in a From Software game, I think it's safe to say that they're cooked. I think it's safe to say that they're cooked. If it becomes a thing in From Software games, I really do. While much of the community celebrates this, pretty much almost all of it, and the difficulty of the games is part of why they have enjoyed such popularity, some players have argued that lack of difficulty options prohibits potential players from enjoying the genre. Who? See, this is where we start getting into the conversation that not every video game is made for you, right? Isn't this what they say whenever we look at certain video games that are usually made for the normal gamer? They get co-opted and turned into woke pieces of trash. And they're like, well, the game isn't made for you. Why is that energy not upheld when we're talking about games that are notoriously difficult, that journalists are trying to they just keep doing this. They keep trying to make the games easier. Why is that energy never held the same? Why are we not held to the same standard? If that woke piece of trash video game is not made for me, and I'm supposed to accept that the franchise has been co-opted and that's just what it is, then you should be able to accept the fact that a Souls-like game just might not be for you. Just because your friends are playing Elden Ring doesn't mean you also should be playing Elden Ring. If you fucking suck at those games, don't buy those games. Go buy another game that's a little bit easier. Maybe Animal Crossing. I don't know. Play those games. And then again, they'll gaslight people and say, well, think about the marginalized people. Bro, who gives a fuck? From Software is making the game the way that they want to make them. And they want to make it a difficult rewarding experience. That's just what it is. And you trying to come around and say, well, just make it easier. Make it easier for the black folks. Shut the fuck up, bro. Nobody cares. Because it doesn't matter how easy Elden Ring games are made, unless they have a boss skip option, journalists are never going to be able to get through them anyway. Most of them. Most journalists are not going to be able to get through an Elden Ring game, no matter how easy they make it. Unless you get a one-shot option or a skip a boss option, which, by the way, they want all of those. Maybe not so much a one-shot option, but they want a skip boss option. That's what they want. So they want a skip boss option, and they also want difficulty sliders. It's unbelievable. So in any case, the developer NeoWiz has announced that it will introduce difficulty options in its upcoming expansion, and says, we want to make sure a wider audience of players could play the game, said director Juwon Choi. When asked if this decision was made based on player feedback, he responded, absolutely. We have a lot of feedback from customers and from our developers. If you have customers, that means they bought your game the way that the game was. They bought your game the way that the game was already. So why would they then say, oh, please make it easier? Wouldn't they just refund it? I guess not. Clearly, if they got past the 2-hour mark, they must have had no problem with the difficulty. But in any case, so by making development adjustments and introducing these difficulty options, we can offer the experience to different types of players. If this broadens the base. No, see, this is where the flawed logic comes into play. This is where the flawed logic comes into play, right? So you think by introducing difficulty options, this is going to somehow expand your player base. But the simple fact is, yeah, you might get some new customers, but you're going to be alienating the customers that made your game what it is in the first place. Those Souls-like players that enjoy the difficulty and enjoy the fact that everybody has to play on the same even playing field, and we all have to get good, like the meme says, we all got to get good, right? The moment you take that away, bro, people are going to be, they're going to be pissed. they're going to be pissed. So you're going to abandon those players and their ideals when it comes to a Souls-like game. Just for what? So you could make a couple of journalists happy that they can now get past chapter 1 just for them to die in chapter 2? There's even some people that might skip out on the next Liza P game simply because they know you're bending the knee to these fucking pathetic losers. They try to pretend like they are any sort of gamer whatsoever when they're not. So what are we seriously doing here? You're never going to get better. And this is what drives me insane. This is what drives me insane. I feel like most gamers out there want to constantly get better, right? And if they play a video game that's extremely difficult, bro, we all grew up on old video games that were extremely hard because they didn't want you to beat the game during a rental cycle. Like we played those games. We played those games. So if we grew up on that, why the fuck are we pussyfooting now on games like these? Bro, who remembers Lion King from Sega Genesis, bro? That game was unbelievably fucking difficult. Who remembers Echo? The dolphin, that son of a bitch. Who remembers those games, bro? Even Earthworm Jim was a little difficult. Bro, who remembers those things? Not everybody grew up on it. Well, guess what? Maybe you should have. Maybe you should have, because then people wouldn't be such a goddamn pussy. And the simple fact is, if you didn't grow up on those difficult games, well, they're still putting out difficult games in today's generation. Souls-like games are one of them. Get good. That's really it. Get good. Ninja Gaiden. Exactly, bro. Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden is fucking brutal. See, Elden Ring, and the sad thing is that Elden Ring is actually easier compared to the other Dark Souls games. But the Dark Souls style video games, they are this generation's difficult games, right? They are this generation's like old school Lion King, fucking Echo, Ninja Gaiden, all that stuff. That's this generation. So why are we trying to ruin this generation's level of difficult video games so that it could be accessible? Bro, nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. Whoever wasn't going to play Liza P because it was too hard before is not going to play it now that you made it a little bit easier. All you're going to do is piss off your hardcore fan base, and I guarantee you that hardcore fan base makes up the majority of the people playing your game. And it's going to make up the majority of the people who would have bought your sequel, who would have bought your expansion. That's all it's going to do. You're going to abandon the majority to make the minority happy. And it seems to be a growing trend. It's a growing trend in the gaming industry. Abandon the majority to go after the perceived majority when we all know they're the minority because the numbers back it up. So that's basically where we're at. And that's it, boys. That's it. A lot of people were asking me at Griffcast if I'm going to play the expansion for this. I'm not. I'm not personally. Not because of this decision. I just, when it comes to single player games like this, when you come out with brand new content a year later after I've completed the game, I really have zero interest to go back when I have other games I have to review and other games I have to complete. So it's nothing about the difficulty options, but I got to admit, the difficulty options are quite annoying, in my opinion. But it is definitely a growing trend. Absolutely. In many cultures, many aspects of culture right now, I agree. Black Tailgate. It is 100% a growing trend. So we're going to see more of it. And like I said, if we see it in Dark Souls games, that's how you know it's cooked at this point. Every game is going to be doing it. From Software is the last bastion that really hasn't done it yet.